The Gospel of Gold by G.S. Lewis. Presently, Gold felt himself calm down. On an impulse, he began to walk forward, and the crowd parted for him as he made his way toward the body of Onyx. Alan followed with a look of morbid curiosity, and Marina and Junichi with empty eyes of penitent guilt. Gold only took note. He did nothing that might draw attention to them. When he reached the giant gray head, he stopped and looked at the people's faces still trained upon him. "There are explanations for everything," he announced, not recognizing his own words. "If you want to accept them. With enough time, I'm sure some of you could come up with an account that made more sense than what actually took place out here. I know what happened, but it doesn't matter if you don't want to believe me." Gold looked into the enormous, half-closed eyes of the fallen stone serpent. "Now, you've all had time to see that this onyx, wherever it came from, is decisively dead. If I then lay on my hands and bring him back, some of you may end up thinking that he was only playing dead under my orders. To you, I have nothing else to say, except watch and look for the master he returns to." "Wait a second!" cried Marina, running up to Gold's side. She seized his arm, her expression wild with panic. "Don't tell me you're actually planning to raise that thing again!" Any regret she might have had about causing Onyx's death was smothered in the fear of what might happen, again, to her own Pokémon. Gold saw it in her eyes, and he placed a hand over hers, doing his best to give her an encouraging smile. Slowly, she drew her hand off his arm. "It's going to be all right," he said gently. She nodded, and her doubtful countenance diminished, though not entirely. Gold returned his focus to Onyx, passively noticing that the crowd was backing away. So, they expected something to happen. Good. "Hear me!" commanded Gold, resting his hands on the cold stone cheeks beneath Onyx's eyes. "Awake!" The abrupt change could not have been more obvious. Onyx's eyes flew open, and the mouth gaped widely, greedily gulping air with enough force to ruffle Gold's clothing. If the surrounding people had made any noise at the sight of it, Onyx's hyperventilation drowned them out. The odor of its breath reminded Gold of Union Cave's damp, earthy scent, a smell he had associated with panic and the need to escape. Now, however, he felt no trepidation, not even inches from the mouth of a possibly hostile enemy. There was no room for fear. The spirit was upon him. Onyx's eyes came to focus upon him at last, expressionless at first. Then the eyes widened with something beyond animal intelligence, and it raised its head slowly. For a long moment of uncertainty, nobody knew if it would rear up suddenly to attack, dive underground, or attempt once more to kidnap Gold and fulfill its mission. Who could tell the extent of the mental conditioning which Bruno had ground into his Pokémon's mind over the years? "Be content," Gold spoke, in a clear voice that carried through the crowd. He locked eyes with Onyx. "You died trying to do your master's bidding. It was not meant to be, but you have your life back, and you've kept your honor. Is that not enough?" In a small corner of his mind, Gold wondered if the creature would heed anything he said. Probably not, but these weren't his words. These words came from the one who could touch the souls of all Pokémon. Onyx appeared to be listening, though it gave no reply. He spoke again. "If I have found favor with you, I would ask one thing. Gold pointed southward at the ruined Pokemon Center. Wait there for your master's return, and show him where his Machamp stood in its last moments. He must drink from the same bitter cup that he has offered to so many other aspiring Pokemon trainers. Seconds passed, and Onix remained motionless, its eyes still fixed on Gold's. Then, very slowly, its head fell, and its serpentine body began to slide noisily across the dirt. All eyes watched it go, still the most dangerous creature in the area, yet no more aggressive than a domesticated rabbit. Gold turned and glanced back at Alan, the only onlooker whose mouth wasn't hanging open. His arms were crossed over his chest in a relaxed posture, but Gold could now see more white in his eyes. He was impressed and doing his best to hide it. Okay, he said, a little too casually. I'm convinced. Glad to hear it, said Gold, smiling bashfully. Already, he felt that something bold within him had retreated quietly back into the recesses of his heart, its work complete for the present. Are you staying somewhere in town? My friends and I need somewhere to lie low for a while.